So here's the situation that I'm in. Last year I did do a vehicle trade for that POS truck that I had, and then I got the blue Grand Caravan. And the Grand Caravan has been great up to this point. I've loved driving it, loved using it to do junk and scrap removal. Um, I did, however, run into an issue. Um, so the issue I ran into, well, back a couple months ago, um, I brought the van into a mechanic shop, and I brought it in for, I believe, yeah, I brought it in for them to look at the rear brakes, I believe it was. And then, of course, while it was there, they looked over a bunch of other stuff, because that's what mechanic shops do, obviously, to try and get you to spend more money on repairs. And they found out that it needed a ball joint and control arms, which for those particular vans, the control arm and the ball joint is one piece. Um, but then it also needed a wheel bearing, which I know it definitely does need. I could hear it when I'm driving. And then at that time, there was a few other things that it needed. I can't quite remember what it was. Maybe sway bar and some other stuff. Stuff that had to do basically with the front end. Um, and also, then they also addressed the issue or that I was having, where one of the brake calipers was locked up. And so I brought it home after that. And I also brought it after I brought it home. I was sitting on it for a couple days. I spoke to some other mechanics. They said, yes, that stuff does sound right. It probably does need to be replaced. But I didn't move forward with getting that stuff done yet, because I had other things I needed to take care of. And then a couple days ago, my stepdad and I were out doing some scrap removal. And when we were at the scrap yard, I pulled into the parking lot, and I noticed there was a lot of steam coming up from the hood of the van. And so after I got paid from the scrapyard, we went to the local gas station. I checked the overflow bottle, and it was completely empty. And which was really weird, because I just put in like 2 gallons of antifreeze that morning. And so to have it be completely empty, obviously there's an issue. I've known that there was a small coolant leak for a while, but I was able to get by. And now it won't hold coolant at all. As soon as I put it in and drive around for a half a day, then go back and park it, all the coolant is gone that I put in. It doesn't appear to be like a head gasket or anything like that. I haven't noticed like any milky substance in the oil or anything like that. It's basically just been the steam coming out from the hood, and also I'm only getting warm air coming into the cab when I'm actually in motion and or revving up the engine. Like if I'm sitting in a parking lot and I'm revving up the engine, I'll get warm air, but as soon as I let off the gas, it goes right back to cold. And along with that, the engine, even though I have a coolant leak, the engine is not overheating. The needle is not going all the way to hot. Instead, what's happening is it goes up to halfway, and then when I start losing coolant, it drops down to cold. And also, that's when I'm getting the cold air coming into the cab too. So my stepdad and I, we thought it was the thermostat. Maybe the thermostat wasn't working correctly, and maybe it was like creating too much pressure. And then, of course, when you get too much pressure, it wants to relieve that pressure, and it will exit out the easiest way possible, which is usually going to be like a seal or something like that. So we replaced the thermostat thinking that might help the situation. Unfortunately, it didn't. So the next option was going to be to pull off the connectors where the transmission lines go into the radiator. We were going to pull those connectors off and replace them. So we started trying to loosen those up, which we got them all the way, loosened up, but we couldn't actually pull the lines out of the radiator. And so I called some local mechanic shops to find out, what could be done. And basically, every mechanic that I talked to said that when it comes to replacing those connectors, it is incredibly difficult to pull those transmission lines out because there's a seal inside there somewhere that's holding it in place. And they said once you do get those transmission lines out and you put a new connector on, if you don't get that seal seated properly, you're going to continue to have leaks. And they said it's almost better to replace the radiator and the transmission lines and the connectors all at the same time. So I did some checking online. I found out I could, order off of Amazon, but it would take a while to get here. Even with my Amazon Prime membership, I think some of the pieces said it would take like over a week to get here. And so I also checked the local parts store. I found out they have basically everything in stock that's needed. However, ordering off Amazon was only going to save me a couple of bucks, and it was going to take longer. Whereas the parts store was going to be a little bit more expensive, but the parts are readily available. Having said that, to replace the radiator, the lines, and the connectors, it was going to cost me around $450, not including the 5 gallons of antifreeze that I would need to put in the system after everything is put in place. So, right now in my area for antifreeze, you're talking $14, $15 a gallon times 5, plus the cost of the parts. You're looking at over $500. And the van itself is theoretically only worth about $200 or $300, and that's and the $500 that I mentioned is not including the cost of the parts for the other stuff that needs to get fixed. So all the mechanics that I talked to said it would not be worth putting any money into the van, because it's just not worth it. So I am on the hunt for another vehicle right now. I know if I purchase another vehicle and then bring the van up to like the local scrapyard, I'm going to get about $200 for it. But my budget is only about $1,200, so I'm really having a tough time finding a vehicle that I can actually use. Everybody that is getting back to me is a scammer on Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist. They want me to deal with them through eBay Motors, and they're saying I can't even go look at the vehicle, and that I have to pay money up front before the vehicle gets shipped to me, even though they're in like the same state. They're like a half hour away. They're saying that they're out of the country and that I need to email them, and then they send me an eBay Motors link, which is a problem because the link that they are sending me is actually a phishing link where it's just designed to get your information. And then also, once you send them money, they're gone. You're never going to hear from them again. So I'm not dealing with those people. There is a dealership about 45 minutes away from me that I spoke to yesterday, and they said, I could come up there and put a down payment on a vehicle, which was going to be about $1,300. And they said to get financing, there's no application, no credit check. Basically, everything is done on a handshake, and that the payments would be $600 a month. Sounds great and all, but I don't know if I could even afford that $600 a month on top of paying for insurance and gas and taxes and everything else that I have to pay for. So, it's just one of those things. I just don't know what to do at this point. I do want to thank everybody that has helped me out up to this point, including the guy that I traded vehicles with, who is one of my followers. I wish I could keep the van up and going. Unfortunately, it's just not there. I'm gonna keep looking into the issue and see if there's anything that I can do. Otherwise, I'm gonna have to buy another vehicle. All I know at this point is that I need to have something lined up by like Monday, which today is Thursday. I just don't know what to do at this point. I mean, even for the van, liability insurance on that is, for me, $400 a month. So if I want full coverage insurance, it's actually like $800 a month. Obviously, that's not affordable. Even the liability insurance is almost not affordable. Anyway, just stay tuned for updates. Thank you for watching.